This is the Tamiya King Yellow. It's based on the Tamiya G6-01 chassis, along with the Konghead and the Volvo A60 hauler. Now, there is another variant, the G6-01 TR, which the Dynahead uses, but that's not really the same thing because it's been geared down, has portal axles, and is more of a crawler. But we're just talking about the standard G6-01 chassis today. So again, King Yellow, Konghead, and Volvo A60. Now the G6-01 chassis is based on the four-wheel drive GF-01, which is what this is. This is the heavy dump truck GF-01 chassis. This one's bright yellow. Most of them are black. They also come in the Suzuki Jimny and the Toyota FJ. So there's a fair few variants. They're very odd chassis, these, because they're six-wheel drive, they're four-wheel drive, but they don't have drive belts or drive shafts. They're actually all gears. So it's a big complicated gearbox with multiple gears all the way along, so you get all the drive. It's very direct. It's actually, especially in this one, to be honest, surprisingly efficient and quiet. I thought there'd be so much friction, but it's not too bad. I mean, there is definitely more friction in that than there is in this one, without a doubt, but it's not too bad. So Matthew and I built the King Yellow, and he built his Konghead, the G6-01s, over the course of several years. Not deliberately, he's just never available, and he's about as reliable as a chocolate fire guard. But also, we kind of need to get time off, etc. to do it, because we turned it into a drinking game.
You didn't even. Oh, that's quite bad. Isn't it? You didn't even finish your refill. Oh, you're terrible. Right, refill.
We got absolutely plastered, and we'd try and build the Tamiya kits while we're doing it, and it was fun. Lots of mistakes made. We had to backpedal a few times. Now, when I finished this, I was a little concerned because I ordered a bearing kit. I usually get my bearings from RC Bearings.co.uk. This one was no exception, and I had a bearing left over when I finished. Jeez. So, yes, I was a little concerned that somewhere in this drive line, in the gearbox or on the axles or in the hub somewhere, there was a bearing missing. It doesn't seem to be the case, which is weird because rcbearings.co.uk, they only ever fit the exact amount your model needs. So, no idea what went on there. Matthew built his Konghead standard. So my G6-01 came with a full bearing kit. Also has oil-filled chocks all round. These are Ansman oil-filled chocks. Matthew built his with the included friction shocks, the pogo sticks, and the bushings, the plastic and brass bushings. So I was hoping that. Oh, I've remembered one more thing. I was got Schumacher foams in the tires. I was hoping that this extra money I spent on mine would make it perform better than standard. But to be honest with you, when we used them both, I didn't really see anything. I didn't really see any difference. It's annoying that Tamiya only include plastic bushings rather than bearings in most of the kits. It's ridiculous, really. But I suppose there is one argument in that plastic bushings require no maintenance at all. So if you splash through a puddle, plastic bushings aren't going to rust and seize. So maybe that's an argument, but I still don't think it's valid because bearings are not expensive. Anyway, so I wanted to address Roger Chevelle here for a second because he asked if I wouldn't mind doing an overview of this truck and also having a running video. Now, I have to apologise to both Roger and everybody else because last weekend we were supposed to do a running video of this truck and the Konghead, Matthew's Konghead. So I drove all the way to my parents' house over in Perthshire because Matthew and Jackie are living with my parents at the moment, having just sold their house. And I brought my nice truck, brand new King Yellow. You'll see it's not brand new anymore, but we'll get to that. And I brought the cameras, 2 of them, because we're going to drag racing and stuff. And I brought my transmitter, and I forgot the lipos, didn't I? So, yeah, well done, Mike. That was really clever of you. Matthew needed new lipos anyway, so we went to Tay Models. He bought a new lipo, back to my parents' house, charged up one of his existing working lipos and his new one, but by the time it finished, it was quite late in the day, the shadows were long, we wouldn't have done for good filming, and we were pushed for time because we had to be places, so we decided to just try them for the first time, not on camera. But there will be a running video, I promise that. So unfortunately the first time just wasn't. And I have to say, when I built this truck, when I finished it and we got drunk and it was finally done, and I've done a camel trophy theme, as you can see here. It comes as a sort of school bus theme with a stop sign, but I thought I'd make mine a racing bus, a camel trophy racing bus, that's what I call it, and it looks pretty good. I think it works pretty well. When I finished it, I wasn't, I'll be honest, I wasn't that sure I liked it very much. Now, let me explain. I like really good handling RC cars, like my Tamiya TT-01E, which has had lots of modifications. That is far from a standard one. Like my Team Lossy touring cars, which are up there, you probably are at the shot here. Like this Yokomo MR4 TC Custom. Like the Lunch, like some other ones I own. But I also like mad, just off the cuff, sort of stupid, raises a smile at any speed type of RCs. And that's where this comes in. This is where this comes in. This is where the lunchbox does come in. Now, I built this initially brushless, but it didn't suit brushless at all. It was too unstable. It rolled over everywhere. You couldn't have fun with it because you couldn't just crack the throttle at any point. It was just, the chassis was not capable of running brushless in a fun way, in a way that allows you to throw it around. I mean, it would, the chassis could handle it in terms of it didn't fall to bits, but it wasn't enjoyable. I put this back to brushed power, 27 turn, and it's way more fun. It's just, when you have something as unstable as this, it just doesn't suit loads of power. Now, this being based off the same chassis, obviously it's going to have more front to back stability because it's much longer and it has an extra set of axles. But in terms of its roll center, it couldn't have been too much different. Obviously this has got a hard plastic truck bed and a hard plastic cabin, so there's a little bit higher center of gravity. This is a polycarbonate shell. But overall, I didn't expect a big difference. So when I finished it, I thought, oh, I've got that. That's great fun. But it's brushed and slow. This is brushless, it's 3,500 kV. I'm not sure I could ever see myself picking it. You know what I mean? Like, is it, if I wanted a mad wheelie machine, okay, I've got this. I've got the lunchbox. The Arma behind me, the Vortex, I haven't really gelled with. It's just not, it's fun, but it's not funny. You know, it's too serious. And although this is clearly not serious, I just looked at it and I thought, you know what, I'm just not entirely sure I like this that much. I was hoping that a drive of it would reveal its personality to me, you know? Because a Tamiya, often, not all Tamiyas, often Tamiyas are about more than the sum of their parts, and dynamically they're not great, but then you drive them and then you go, I get it, and you got a big smile on your face. And I was hoping that would shine through with this, because I wanted something daft. I couldn't see it being any more daft than this. Certainly the wheelie capacity is not as good, because although this is four-wheel drive, it'd be even more wheelie prone if it was rear-wheel drive. The pivot point is right here in the rear axle, it's really far back, it's tiny wee short wheelbase, and it just wheelies constantly. This is a long wheelbase, and the pivot point is sort of behind the second set of wheels, so it doesn't really wheelie much, because a little bit, but not too much. However, I needn't have worried. I need not have worried at all, because if you're watching this and you're thinking about getting a Tamiya G6-01, do it. Just do it. Do it now. Order it. Put it in your basket. Just do it now. This thing is so much fun. And it's the same with the Konghead. I've never seen the Volvo go, but it is the same chassis. Speaking of the Volvo, can you imagine how cool a bash would look if you had one of these running around alongside the Volvo hauler? That'd be so cool. That'd be awesome. It'd look great. Actually, if I didn't have this and I was looking at a G6-01 now, I probably would get the Volvo hauler just because of this. Well, maybe not. I like the bus. I do like the bus. Anyway, it's great. The G6-01 is great. It's so much fun. I had the most laughs and the most giggles and the most idiotic fun I've had with an RC car for years. The last time I laughed this much driving an RC car was when I bought my FDX Outlaw, and it was still brushed, and we both got an Outlaw, myself and Matthew, and we used them on the street, and they were terrible. The Outlaw brush was dirt slow, and way too wall away and soft for the street. So you'd be accelerating and it'd be like, oh, waving one wheel at you and rolling over in the corners, and we were trying to race each other, and it was like you turn and the thing would wallow around, and we were trying to outbrake each other, and it was like compensating for this souffle. It was ridiculous. It made us giggle. This, I laughed so hard, just like that. It was so much fun. Although this is running 3,500 kV brushless, I would recommend slightly more. I had 3,900 in here, and it was way too much for this, way too much. So I thought maybe 3.5 would be fine for this. I would probably recommend a 3.9 in this. Thankfully, although yes, it does roll over a bit, and you can get a rear steering modification to run 2 servos, so you have 4-wheel steering, and that would roll over even easier. You don't need it. The turn circle is actually fine. The turn circle is surprisingly good. Okay, if you're on power and the front wheels are hovering a little bit, it takes big wide circles, but you can easy brake and spin the background, and it's absolutely fine. I actually don't think it's necessary whatsoever. But what a laugh. What a laugh. The way this thing drives is bizarre. It's really bizarre. I mean, obviously it looks bizarre. Of course it's bizarre. But when you set off, because you've got these 2 rear axles and the sort of space, so you've got the front one and there's a gap and there's the 2 back ones. Like I said, the pivot point is just sort of about here-ish. So it compresses the back shocks. And then the front wheels sort of hover. It doesn't properly wheelie. It sort of hovers. You get a little bit of air, and it sort of skiffs or hovers along the ground, and then it sort of plants itself and goes for it. But it's under braking that is its most fun. If you want wheelies, one of them, seriously. But it's endos. When you do stoppies with this thing, it's fantastic, because you see the state of the bumper at the bottom, at the front as well, but mostly at the bottom. You brake, and it immediately goes up like that, and it'll lift the front wheels right off the ground, and you see how the front bumper has springs. The front bumper is actually sprung. It's quite strong, but you can see it. It's actually sprung. So what will happen is, you endo it and it goes, and it actually goes doing, and it will actually, if you're lucky, you'll get a couple of jumps out of it. You maybe go down, but it will, or not always, but it will quite regularly go dong and jump on its nose. And then you've got to try and, rather than, okay, if this didn't have a wheelie bar, for example, you'd be balancing the throttle on the back wheels, trying to regulate a wheelie, trying to keep it going without going too far over one way or the other. With this, you're trying to go right to see if I can get it to bounce on its nose without going too far. You can see the state of the shell. Quite often I went too far, but I don't care. I kept trying it. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. I've never seen an RC go dunk before and bounce along the road. So we were actually doing endo competitions rather than wheelie competitions. What a laugh. It's brilliant. It really is fun. It really, really is fun. And that's all it's got going for it. And that might seem like a weird thing to say, but think about it. Dynamically, yeah, dynamically it's not incredible, is it? I mean, it's the wishbones are from the Tamiya TL-01 tuning car, those weird 2-piece wishbones that you screw together. It looks like a centipede. So you get the little short, fat wishbones there. Like I say, oil-filled shocks all round now, but they were plastic friction shocks. Like I said to you, there was no performance. I mean, we drag raced a few times. There was no performance difference between this and Matthew's standard one, which was really surprising, because I thought with all the gears and all the bushings along it, it was like 30 odd or something. I thought the bearing kit would make a big difference. It didn't seem to. It wasn't even any quieter than his. So whatever. Do what you like. I mean, I should still get bearings and oil-filled shocks, but if you don't want to or can't afford to, don't worry about it. Weird setup with the servo mounted to the side. Weird setup with the motor near the front. The ESC and the receiver at the back here. Weird setup, like this funny double thing for mounting the back body shell here. The Konghead doesn't need that. It's got something different. And I think the Volvo has got an actual truck bed like that. So yeah, odd. And dynamically, it's not fantastic. I mean, it's got no adjustability to it whatsoever. It has higher friction chassis, higher friction drivetrain than it would had if, for example, it had a shaft drive or a belt drive or whatever. But it doesn't matter, because all that has going for it is how fun it is. But it's so fun that trumps everything. An RC that makes you smile, it makes you laugh, is worth more than all other things. So although my favourite RC is still my Lossy XXS race car that I won lots of trophies with, up there, trophies. Is that above the shot? Don't know. And I also really like my Schumacher Atom 2 for racing. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. I mean, just get one. Just get one. Seriously. You're looking at, I know it's weird for people to look at something like this, because if you're new to the hobby, you'll look at things like the Corrales and the FDXs, and they're such good value for money, and you get them ready to run for less than £200, etc. And one of these is almost the same price with no electronics, and then when it's finished, it's still dynamically not amazing, and the capabilities of it aren't amazing. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And if you're a seasoned vet, you probably already got lots of different RCs, and you could probably got some serious stuff as well, whether it's an Arma, like 65 mph plus, a fast nitro, a racing car, whatever it is you've got. Maybe you got Lossy 5, I don't know. This is just the most fun RC I've driven for years, and that's all I can say about it. That's all I can say about it. The drivetrain is durable. Matthew managed to snap the 2 screws holding the bumper on, so maybe he was just unlucky, or maybe because you can adjust the screws in, so it compresses the springs on the bumper more or less depending on how much you screw it in. Maybe I fluked and got a better tension than he did, or maybe he was unlucky and got worse tension than me, or maybe he was just unlucky and it just hit at the wrong angle. Be it a couple of screws from Tamiya, cheap, little plastic part, cheap, and then you can go again. And in fact, he's still driving it around with no bumper, because a lot of RCs got no bumper. I mean, the Corrale doesn't, it's over there. The Corrale Triton doesn't really have a bumper. I mean, it does, but the front tires are proud of it anyway. And the Vortex, for example, with these big tires on it, they're proud of the bumper. So whatever. Madrat doesn't have a bumper, so you can run it without. But then you lose bedoing. You gotta have bedoing, or what's the point? Yeah. Nothing more to say about it. It's great fun. G6-01, Konghead, King Yellow, or Volvo truck, Volvo A60. Not the Dynahead, that's a crawler. Go out and get one, build one, and see for yourself, and bedoing it, because why would you not bedoing it? Right, that's everything. Thanks very much for watching. Take care of yourself. See ya.